Welcome back to the Unscheduled podcast. Today, I will be your host, and in case you can't recognize my voice by this point, I'm Javi, and today I will be joined by my co-host Zach.
Yo, what's up, guys? Happy New Year! Good to be back.
Yeah, I mean,
I,
the
I
last,
like
I think,
that's the one part about Unscheduled is like we technically can record multiple episodes in a day,
mhm.
or like we could take a massive hiatus personally and not come back for weeks. So it's weird to say if we're back or not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the last episode, as of recording, came out like on the 30th, and that was like 4 days ago.
Yeah,
So
as is the
it's,
time of this
it's interesting.
recording. Yeah. So it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? All right, let's carry this episode out. So, you brought an idea up to me, or like we had talked about this a while back.
yeah.
So for
So
today's episode, right?
Yeah, so we did the episode, the last episode we did was, things that happened in 2020 that were pretty significant, at least for us, or also just generally for, the world and in entertainment, stuff like that. And today, for this episode, we're going to be talking about stuff that we're actually looking forward to in 2021.
Yeah, yeah. And again, this is like pop culture stuff. This is like, I guess, more in the gaming realm slash tech and entertainment realm. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, like I would say more specifically than, entertainment, really just more like TV, anime, games,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. Again, no, not doing the whole politics thing. We're not doing the whole none of that. None of that.
Oh, yeah, no, not really.
Um, so why don't you start us off? Because like we have like you guys don't see this, but behind the scenes we have like lists and notes and stuff
Yeah.
we take on these episodes. Like this is unscheduled, but we still try and do some prep for these episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so to start us off, this is actually something that you brought to my attention a while ago, when you sent me a tweet about it, and it's this anime called Skate to Infinity, and that's going to be premiering next weekend on January 9th, at least I think in Japan, and it'll appear on the 10th. I don't know how it works, but it's going to be
Yeah,
premiering next weekend, and I'm personally really looking forward to it because it looks pretty damn good, honestly.
I liked the aesthetic of when I first saw the commercial, and I was just like, I can see this taken off. I can
Absolutely, yeah, no,
definitely
I
see
think.
it taken off. Like the aesthetic was really nice. The animation was so smooth. I don't
Hmm.
really know the story, the plot line to the story that much, or at least not to what I can remember. But
Yeah, I believe it's.
I do remember like that, like the animation drew me in, and the music was really good too.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Distinctly from the commercial, I remember the music just like really pulled me in. Like, it's really just the perfect like idea. It's like skateboarding is a very just cool concept in general, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um, and then the music, and then as you said, the animation, and just from the trailer alone was just really spectacular. So, and I also believe, if I might be wrong, but I think this is also like an original work. It's not based off of a manga or anything like that, if
I
I'm not
don't think so
mistaken.
either. At least to what I can follow up, there was no manga to it. That's not to say there isn't, just none that I can find.
Yeah, so that's always interesting. I kind of like those actually. I think Evangelion was the same way. I
Yeah.
think
My favorite anime, Darker Than Black, was that way. Cowboy Bebop was like that too,
oh
where it
wow,
was
yeah,
all
really.
animated before it was, and not a manga originally, which is usually, usually it's the opposite.
Yeah. What was it? I think Code Geass is the same way, isn't it? Did it have a manga?
Code Geass did not have a manga, actually. Yeah, you're right. Code Geass did not have a manga.
Yeah, I think Kill la Kill is also the same way.
I believe so. I want to say you're right on that. It's just been a minute. My manga history is a bit it is a bit more um empty than my anime history and stuff.
Oh, true. Yeah, no, that's fair.
But anyway, so we had a bunch of stuff we were looking at, like just overall that were announced to come out this year. So
Yes.
I'm very curious. I'm looking at the list here, and I'm very curious to see what it is exactly you had picked.
Oh yeah.
So go ahead
Um,
and start us off with like one of your things you're most excited about.
So for what I'm most excited about is definitely Persona 5 Strikers, which is going to be coming out on February 23rd. That is a sort of epilogue slash sequel to the original game, Persona 5. and it's
Really?
basically yeah, it's more based on Persona 5, not really like the Royal, which isn't really that's not that in and of itself isn't really a spoiler. Um, like when I say when I say Persona 5 Royal, I'm talking about like the stuff that happens towards the end of Royal as opposed to Persona 5. But we can that's something that you guys can figure out on your own. But yeah, it's basically it's a different game style as well. It's not the same turn-based combat. It's a warriors game, if you know what I'm talking about. Similar to like Hyrule Wars and stuff like that.
Oh,
If you ever
really?
played those,
Wow.
yeah, that's the gameplay. But I mean, personally, from what I've seen, it looks really good, and I've listened to the soundtrack, and it also, of course, it's incredible. Um, and it's just more Persona 5 content. So honestly, I'll gobble that up. No problem.
No kidding, dude. With like how much I've seen you love Persona 5, like that does not surprise me at all.
Absolutely. And then also, actually, I didn't put this on the Google Doc, but this is actually this year is the 25th anniversary of the first Persona game. Um,
Really? That's actually
yeah,
really cool, man.
yeah, and Atlas actually announced, oh, this year's gonna be really special. They're gonna like do like they're gonna announce a bunch of projects. I'm just so excited for that.
I mean, they've already shown what like some of the stuff they're working on and releasing this year that like I know like a bunch of the SMT fandom is just like, "Oh my gosh, you finally delivered on this."
Oh yeah. I mean, if you want, I can go into that next.
Please, sure.
Or
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, like your knowledge on this stuff far exceeds mine, so,
yeah, so
go
on top
off.
of Persona 5, Strikers getting the Western release over here. Well, this is all mostly just Western, but
Yeah.
SMT Nocturne, the remaster is getting a Western release as well. They said spring 2021, but that's pretty vague because it could be like March, but it could also be all the way up to like late May. So it's kind of weird, but I mean, hey, I'm not complaining. I'm looking forward to playing that game.
Yeah.
Because I really liked SMT4, which is for the 3DS, but I kind of prefer the 3D environments that Nocturne has, at least from what I've seen. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then SMT5 is also coming out this year for worldwide release, which is really good, I think. I personally really dislike Atlas's thing of doing like separate releases for, Japan and like, Western. But
Right.
yeah, no, SMT5 is getting a worldwide release, which I'm really happy about. And that game has been in active development for a pretty long time. I think it
Yeah,
got
yeah. I remember people were like really surprised that it suddenly got support like out of nowhere.
yes, yes, and they announced that it was gonna come out this year, last year. And when they announced it last year, it had been a development for like 4 years. Like they announced it
Yeah.
like 4 years ago. So I mean, but we know Persona 5 that Alice doesn't have the best track record of, announcing stuff and then, being exactly correct about when they're gonna release stuff, but that's a whole other conversation.
I was gonna
But
say it's like I mean that's been the year. That's essentially what the year has been. Hey, we're gonna release
absolutely.
something. Are you sure you're gonna release it? Maybe.
Oh yeah. Cyberpunk. But anyways, um
Oh boy, that do I have some news on that? Well, we'll touch that
absolutely.
in a little bit. We'll touch on that in a little.
Yeah, but I'm particularly really excited to see all the projects that Alice releases because I'm not even like I joke about really liking Alice, but just generally speaking, I genuinely enjoy all their products, not for them being Alice, but just because they're actually really good games. So yeah,
Yeah.
really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I have been like I'm not a massive Atlas fan because I my Persona experience and SMT is very limited, but from the product I've consumed, I'm very happy usually with like the end.
Yeah, absolutely. But Zach, do you have something that you think you're really hyped up for this year?
Oh, I know exactly what I'm hyped up for, and
Oh, I think I know
so
what it is.
you've seen me do this once before. You've seen me. There are very few games I'm dedicated to, like fully dedicated to.
Yeah.
But one of the games I was dedicated to is Horizon Zero Dawn. You've seen me 100% that game, as painful as it
Mhm.
was.
Yes, sir.
Now, as a disclaimer, I did 100% it pre DLC, and
hmm
then I also had a bunch more data on it back in the day. But that's a story for a different time.
Yeah, yeah.
still, the whole point is we are getting a second game, and like it has been something we've been waiting for a while. I would say in the fandom, like we knew we were getting it at some point. We just didn't know when.
Yeah, when did the first one come out? I remember you playing it junior year of
I
college. It
want to
was like
say it was even earlier than that. I think it was like
really
2016, 2017 is when the first one came out.
wow.
Yeah. So I played that, and then I played that one, and then as I finished it, I had 100%ed it, and then so I played through the DLC. I'm still playing through some of the DLC technically, trying to 100% it all over again. And then but
Sure.
now it's getting a sequel, so Horizon 2 Forbidden West. And we haven't seen much solid gameplay of it, but we've seen the trailer and it looks beautiful. I'm so
Oh
ready for
yeah.
this game because it adds to this already underdeveloped story. Well, not underdeveloped, like there's still so much to the story that needs to be answered. So
Right.
it's so exciting to see that we're getting more. And with how the game ended, you know that there's so much more left to do.
Yeah. Remind me, is Horizon 2 going to be on PS4 or is it exclusive for PS5?
It's going to be a PS5 exclusive on launch, and then they
Uh-huh.
said like for PC is to be determined.
Oh, okay, I see. Ooh, that's interesting for
Yeah,
PC.
yeah, because Horizon Zero Dawn got released to PC like just
Really?
last year. Yeah, last year.
I actually did not know that. I did not keep up
Yeah,
with that actually.
yeah, no, it got released to PC last year. But now it's on because it was a PS4 exclusive for the longest time. But now I think they're probably going to go the same route this time around, where it's going to be a PS5 exclusive, and then they'll release it on PC later.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we'll see what happens. But point being, like the game just looks so crisp, and I get it's a cinematic trailer. I get there's not much to really go off of, but the
Yeah.
fact of how well they did in the last game gives me hope that they're going to do really well in this next one.
Yeah, I feel like they should probably follow it up with I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like, based off, off of what I've seen you play and, off of my personal experience, like I feel like they should probably deliver on it. So I'm hopeful about that. I do need
Oh
to
yeah,
freaking play the game because I haven't. But yeah. Oh gosh.
I highly recommend it for anyone who has not played it. I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. But
So if you
kind of
get the
segue.
chance, like pick it up, play it, and it's now on PC. So if you have the capability of playing on PC, play it on PC.
Mm-hmm. God, I wish I could play more of my games on PC to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah. But what else? What else are you excited for then?
Okay, so for me personally, one of the things I'm really actually like kind of caught me off guard is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. That is a game that I remember coming out, I think for what was it? Was it 3DS or was it Wii U? I don't remember. I remember seeing that come out, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. But I didn't have it I didn't have either of those systems at the time, so I was just like, "I'm not gonna, go out of my way to get those systems just for this game." But
Yeah,
now that
yeah.
that game is coming to Switch, and it has, added on content with Bowser's Fury, I'll probably actually get it, I really I've never really had a negative experience with Mario games. I would say most of them are pretty, like, overwhelmingly positive. So
I
I'll probably
think
pick the game up when it comes out.
I think Nintendo is just so used to that their Mario games have to be of like a certain quality. They don't dare like mess with the formula of like if Mario needs this, give Mario this.
Yeah, the only counterargument I would say to that would be some of the Mario Party games, because I know those have been kind of hit or miss. But
Yeah, okay, I would give you that. Yeah.
generally speaking, with like their main product, which is the 3D platformers and stuff like that, I'd say they've done a pretty good job.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Again, like they treat Mario like they know that that's like their biggest asset and face that they could just never they actively cannot try and do anything. Like the moment they see something doesn't work for it, they kill it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I 100% agree with you on that one. It's unfortunate. I think there are some things that I think they should probably maybe work on a bit more actively. Um, like I've never been like the biggest Metroid fan, but I think Prime 4 going on for this long is kind of like sad in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I will give them credit though where credit is due. At least they recognize they needed to restart
That's
and
true. Yeah, I agree with that.
not just throw out a faulty product.
I do appreciate that honestly.
Yeah, that for me, I was like, the moment I saw that, I was like, okay, you know what, Nintendo, you win this, you win this round. I won't get angry or upset at you for that because at least I know you're getting me a good game.
Absolutely, 100%. Um, kind of speaking about that though, you had something else on this list that you were kind of excited about.
Let me see. Yes. So, so I don't know if this technically counts for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but right now we've been going through what I'd like to call a drought
Mm.
of I would say like we've gone through like a drought of new gen consoles. That's how to put it. Like that's how I would put it.
Yeah, very like a
Like
scarcity kind of.
yeah, like we don't know when they're being released, and even if they do get released, there are scalpers right there ruining it for everyone.
Oh yeah.
So as I was looking at it, I was like, huh. That's something I actually want to look forward to. When are we getting like the next consoles and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can say we want the latest console and stuff, but I feel like the anticipation in itself is also kind of something you could look at, because
Yeah.
everyone wants the latest and greatest console.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I'm very excited to see when we get the new PS5 restocks, because
Yeah.
I definitely want a PS5. I am not of the mentality though right now, weird as it is, that like I really want to get one. It's a great
Yeah.
it's probably a great console, and it probably has some bugs and stuff, but every new console does anyway.
Yeah.
But
100%.
for me, what I'm more it's just more of the fact that like I want to get it once I'm able to get it. So it's like
Yeah.
I am in no rush. I tried, trust me, I did try going through the whole rush fighting the scalper bots and stuff. Unfortunately, I was unable to get it, and I didn't pre-order it only because at the time I didn't have the money to pre-order it.
Right.
But then once I did, I was like, okay, I'll try and get it. And unfortunately, I was unable to pre-order it and stuff. But now I'm excited to try and like get it again. Like it's almost an excitement for the hunt in a way.
Oh, I kind of understand that. Um, like I personally am not like actively going for it, but I definitely do know that like if it ever gets like a reduced price, or when they release like the sort of like PS5 Pro or whatever, I definitely know I'm gonna go for that one for
Oh
sure.
yeah, oh yeah.
I
Because I
definitely
mean,
feel like. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I mean, it helps that like I know both of our backlogs are so backed up right now that like we probably can go an entire year and a half without getting the PS5 and still have stuff to play.
Absolutely. I mean, like, and the worst part is like my backlog is filled with like not only long games, but like open world games. I have like side
Oh
quests,
yeah, oh yeah. And
DLC.
I think the part that I'm just asking myself is, why do I keep adding to it? Like I have so many
Yeah.
games. I have maybe four, without exaggeration, four games that are sealed and have not seen a minute of gameplay.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, I literally got Final Fantasy VII Remake on a whim, and that's adding on top of like, for example, I theoretically, I mean, I have, Fire Emblem Three Houses. I've only done like one house. There's
Oh
two
yeah.
houses, in the
Oh
base
yeah.
game, so it's like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much, really, playability. And this is a bit of a tangent, actually. Now that I think about it,
Yeah,
but
you
something
know,
I've
go ahead, go off, dude, go off.
something I've definitely noticed about my experience with video games, with this backlog that I have, is that I'm definitely much more inclined to do a kind of like, one and done kind of thing with some of my video games. Like, for example, like Mario 64, right? I
Yeah.
beat that game as soon as I had the chance to do so, and I haven't touched it ever since. You know what I
Really?
mean?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I played Sunshine. I'm talking about 3D All Stars.
Yeah, yeah,
For
yeah, yeah.
context. I moved on to Sunshine, but then I never really had that thought about like I have to go back because in my mind I was like, oh no, I have to go through everything. No, there's no room to go back for
Yeah,
me.
no, you rather just get the game done. Like you want to get through the game. You're not
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
completionist like you and some like me and some of my friends. Like
I okay, I am a completionist towards the beginning of the game, but I get to a certain point in the game where I'm just like, I just want to beat this, you know? It's
yeah,
just
no, I get that. I get that. It's like a fatigue of the game.
yeah, but the thing with the backlog though, and like, the sort of tendency to just want to finish a game is that like deprive might be a strong word, but it kind of like limits my ability to like want to like wander off and just like replay games that I genuinely enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely been, like, a drawback of having this backlog for me is because, like, it's that thing, right? It's that mentality of, like, wanting to go back and play these games, but also, there's these new releases and stuff like that, and it can really, pull your attention in a lot of directions, and it's
Oh
really
yeah.
hard
Oh
to
yeah. Like
focus
I was
on play.
realizing this. I was realizing this as I'm thinking about it. Like their backlogs for games are just like games release way quicker than we
Mhm.
realize now.
Yeah, and they're good games too, that's the
Yeah,
worst
and
part.
and
They're good
and,
games.
and that's just it. They are good games, and it's just like now I'm looking at it and I'm like, had you asked me, a few years ago, I probably only would have had maybe 10 games.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
10, let's say 12 tops. Now I'm looking at my collection and it's easily like 25, 30 games that I have, if not more.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
fact is, like, if you ask me what are all these games, and I can't even tell you about all of them because I just have so many.
Oh, yeah.
And most of the games I paid for, but some of them I've gotten like on dirt cheap sales, or I've been gifted them to me too. So it's not like any of the games have been like I've actively avoided them either. It's just more of I already got these games. What do I do with it now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny that you mentioned that. It's like, actually, shit, I forgot what I was about to say, but yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, it's so weird, like having like these game. It's choice fatigue, actually. Like, exactly that. It's like it's having all these options, but not really wanting to do anything with them. It's very weird, honestly.
Yeah. I never thought that I would not want to play games because I love video games. That's why, but part of the reason I started streaming was to
Mhm.
just get through the backlog of them.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I want to get a PC and start, streaming through like my PC so I can hook up my PS4 and just get through some of these damn games. It's like, god damn it.
Yeah, no, I get that, and it's weird to say that. Like, legitimately, it feels weird to say that, but at the same time, it makes sense, and it's like you're tired of like playing these games to an extent, and again, I love these games. Don't get me wrong, but there's only so much I can play
Yeah,
before I freaking lose it and like need to step back from video games. And again, that's not everyone, and that's not the case for the entirety of video games for me. It's just more of like I just have so much and I keep getting more, and I keep telling myself, "Oh, I'm going to get through these games," but there are just so many to get through.
absolutely. So, more of the story is, um,
Pace yourself, kids.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. Pace yourself. Like I would say this, even like just for me personally, like I've done the same thing, where I like actively look for fucking games that are like on sale.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Even if a game's on sale, just think about whether or not you really need that game, or if you really think about it in the context of what you already have. Because let's say for me, right, like I said mentioned before, like I have like a few open world games. If I get like if Persona 6 came out miraculously this year, I would drop everything for that game, but then I would have to
Yeah.
leave everything behind. So
Yeah.
it's balance, I guess.
Yeah, you got to know what's worth picking up and what isn't worth picking up, because for me, and I've told this story before, Mario 3D All-Stars helped me dodge a bullet on
Hmm.
Cyberpunk 2077, because I had money set aside for, I was gonna get Cyberpunk 2077, like I was like holding off on pre-ordering because I was like, I can pre-order, but I want to see any more pre-order deals, and I was still deciding on the game.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, Mario 3D All Stars comes out, and then I really had to step back and think, do I play the new, like, biggest game of the year, essentially, that was hyped up to be the biggest game of the year, that keeps
Yeah.
getting delayed, or do I get the limited time release game that's like 3 games in one of classics that people love of
Hmm.
Mario? And at the end of the day, it was honestly the classics that went out, because I got 3 games for one, which is just like
Yeah.
how Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy was. And
Yeah.
like I paid the $60 for it, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not getting Cyberpunk. But I'm still thoroughly enjoying the Mario classics right now, of Mario 3D All Stars.
Oh yeah. I mean, like 3 games with like really good replayability, really good, just environments. Like, I mean, they're 3 of the most successful fucking Mario games of all time. So it
Oh yeah,
makes sense
100%.
that you got your value for $60, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. That is, you are 100% correct there.
Speaking of which, actually, not something I would say I'm necessarily looking forward to, but something that I think would be interesting to like, monitor is how Nintendo's going to handle the whole limited release thing that you mentioned. Is like, I think it's going to stop. They're going to stop like producing copies of it in like March, right, or something like that.
So yeah. So here's my theory on it, and I think I've told you about this theory before.
Hmm.
Is that I don't truly believe Nintendo is just gonna erase all of it. I don't think that. I
Okay.
think what Nintendo's going to do is that they're probably going to then start selling the games individually again. Kind of like a retro package deal.
Ah, okay, I see. Yeah.
So like it's like, oh, okay, you want this game? Sure. But now we're gonna sell them to you individually at like $30 a copy for the Nintendo Switch or something like that.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't believe Nintendo's above that. I don't believe Nintendo like is above not doing that.
No, I mean, we have to remember, like, at the end of the day, Nintendo's a company. It's a
Yeah.
business. You know.
Like they
Um,
will gladly take our money in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. And the I guess the worst part of it is that like, it's not necessarily wrong because, um
Oh no, no,
when
it's
those
a
ga-
good
oh
business. It's a good business idea. Like
yeah.
it's essentially the law of supply and demand.
Yeah, and like what I was gonna say is that like all of those games when they come out were easily worth the value that they were set, which was $60. So it makes sense. And like, people are still trying to buy those games, there's still demand, like you said. So it
Yeah.
makes sense that they could, sell all those games individually for a set price as opposed to, packaging them. Um, but it's just unfortunate, that like that is a possibility that they will, essentially break that product into, 3 separate entities
Yeah.
and make people buy them for like a greater sum than it was originally released for,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
really sad.
okay, to play devil's advocate just a little bit, because this is also my personal thoughts on this.
Okay.
To me, it's like, okay, Nintendo is going to have this as a limited release, but
Okay.
they weren't having it for like a week. They weren't having it for a month even. They were having it from what, October, September,
Yes.
October until March of this year.
Hmm.
So for me, it was like, and I get it. Okay, not everyone can afford to get the game. That's perfectly understandable. That's the part that sucks, and that's like more of the part I'm sympathetic with. But if you
Yeah.
have the money, but you're annoyed that they're having an unlimited release right now, and I'm like, I feel like the people who are able to get the game right now
Yeah.
aren't really gonna complain about it. Like, if you truly want this, you'd buy it right now, assuming
Yeah.
you have the finances to do it and stuff.
Yeah.
Then you would, be buying it in March.
Hmm. I understand. I can see that. I think for the thing that rubs people the wrong way is that like you and I had the funds to buy this game when it came out. Literally the week
Right.
it came out. But it does kind of create a sense of urgency for people that don't have that kind of money set aside for it. The cash stock.
Right, and
Uh,
that's where I'm telling you, that's where I'm a lot more sympathetic on it, because it's like, if
yeah,
financially you're unable to do it, that makes sense to me. That 100% makes sense. But if you're able to get it and you don't get it, my question is to you, why didn't you get it then?
Yeah, that does make sense. Well, it does make sense that you'd be bothered by something that doesn't make sense. I guess is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like clearly like again, if you don't have the financial like means to get it, of course you're not going to buy it. Of course. That
Yeah.
there is no issue to that. And it's like and maybe you don't have the time either. Okay, I can get that. But essentially, we're given a pretty good window. Like I think that's
Mm,
essentially 6 months they gave us into like do I want this game or do I not want this game? And if you don't want the game 6 months later after it being out, like if you don't want it like essentially until March, I don't think you're really going to want it anytime after that.
mm. Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, and that's just my personal thought. People can disagree with me on that, but that's just kind of my take on it. Like, yes, it sucks. Yes, it's a sleazy thing of Nintendo to do,
Hmm.
but is it, are you really, were you not going to buy it in the first place? I guess is my point.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. No,
clearly people will still want this game, and those who want it, those who really want it will buy it like instantly.
hmm. Oh, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like we both know we wanted this game, so we just
Yeah.
got it.
Like I had the financial means for it, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get this game. I have the means for it. I'll buy the game.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, wasn't there? I can't remember exactly. Were there any other projects from Nintendo or from like the Mario 35th anniversary that's coming out this year? Do you know?
I don't. All I know is that they did 3D All Stars. I think they did the 3D All Stars.
Mm-hmm.
They put stuff on the retro store for Nintendo,
Mm.
and then they also did, I believe, they also did Mario 35, the like battle royale thing that was like a
Yeah,
crossover
yeah,
between. That was a crossover between Tetris 99 and Super Mario Bros.
yeah. Speaking of which,
That
that
I'm more
also,
that I'm more disappointed. Honestly, that to me I'm more disappointed is getting a limited release.
yeah, I was about to say. I
Instead,
think that's. I was about to say that also has like limited like kind of
yeah,
release date as well.
that one by March 31st is also not going to be released anymore. Like it will be taken off. And it's a free to play game.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah.
that I'm more disappointed really is not going to stick around as opposed to the 3D All-Stars collection.
Absolutely. This actually just sparked an idea in me. But if you want, later down the line in the episode, we could talk a little bit more about like stuff that we might want to see but hasn't really officially been announced. Maybe this
Sure,
year.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, but there's still a couple of things that we can run through that have been announced that we can potentially talk about here.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
go ahead. I know you have like when you look at the list, it looks small, but in reality there's so much to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah. Kind of a non gaming anime thing is the 2020 Euro soccer tournament, which is going to start on June 11th. That is something that I was really looking forward to in 2020 when the year started, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, they reasonably stopped, anything to do with that, and that is going to be carried out this year.
I'm really curious to see if that's still going to happen this year because I know we know that Europe and like now I guess the United States is slowly starting to get the more contagious version of the virus and we're
Mhm.
expected to get a spike in cases, which we're starting to see.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
No, I
I'm
mean,
really wondering. I'm truly wondering if they're actually going to do that.
yeah, it's really curious.
Yeah.
Um, this is gonna sound bad, but at the rate at which, like, some teams, some clubs, I should say, uh, in, Europe are getting the cases, they're probably all just gonna have the antibodies by June anyways. It's gonna be like
That's really sad and unfortunate to say, but I don't see you being wrong.
it's really sad, like so they handled it pretty well in, June of last year when they were starting, but as soon as the season ended and they started letting players just do whatever they want on, like, vacation and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's when it it got bad because the players themselves weren't really under the guidance of the teams or the health
Yeah,
officials.
yeah.
They were just kind of doing their own
I'm
thing.
like, and let's be honest, you see that these most of the time these players aren't behaving when there's no pandemic.
Well, yeah, see, that's also the thing, right? It's like, these players are like 30-year-olds are sound old in, like, sports, right? But 20 to 30 years old are still very young adults, and they have a lot
Yeah.
of money. So, like, the world is their oyster in that sense.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, it 100%, especially with this. I'm not gonna try and sound like a boomer because I'm also still only like 22. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, these, especially like players within our age range, definitely feel like some of these things are below them, and
It
they
does.
can
Yeah.
just
No,
kind
and
of
I agree. I agree. Like, if it's not affecting them personally, what do they care?
yeah, and plus also not to mention they get tested for the virus every day essentially, and they also have access to some of the best healthcare like humanity could offer. So they're not really in a too much of a compromised condition. That's not to say that the virus won't negatively affect them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I absolutely there have been some players that have like had noticeable like health changes due to the virus. I'm not
Right.
saying that.
Right.
It's just they are much more well equipped to deal with the virus in the case that they do get it. And even if they don't, that's just even better because they don't even have to worry about that at that point.
Yeah. And that's just the part that I'm just like, you got to be. It frustrates me because it's like they get this sense of invincibility when there are tons of people who are still suffering because of this.
Absolutely. I mean, young people in general. Again, not to sound like a boomer, but young people in
Yeah.
general just generally like if you're like a generally healthy person and like yeah, in that sense you already feel kind of invincible. But when you're like a soccer like when you're an athlete, like a superstar athlete, and you have all this money and all this access to resources that most people don't have, it kind of swells your head probably a little bit, I'd imagine in that
I would
regard.
believe that. Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I would believe that.
Yeah, but kinda getting back to the actual tournament, I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to that mostly because there's a really good generation. I was bashing the attitudes, but the players
Yeah.
themselves are incredible. It's like there are some
Right.
really amazing, players that are, active right now, with their national teams. Particularly, I'm really looking forward to England because they have a sort of like golden generation that's coming about with, Phil Foden. There's more. Fuck,
Yeah.
I'm not.
There's a whole episode on soccer week. Just an entire
Absolutely.
episode on.
Absolutely, but to kind of the short of it is I'm really looking forward to this mostly because I mean, it's literally been almost an entire more than a year since we've seen like high level international soccer competition. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, dude, I get it.
Um,
I mean, all
yeah,
right. So I'm gonna kind of read off some of what you have now, and then I have a topic I kind of want to save. I guess more towards the end.
okay.
But I'm looking at the list here, and like Cells at Work was an anime that grabbed the world. I'd say at least the anime fandom by storm, essentially overnight.
100%. I remember I remember pre-sales at work and like everything seemed normal. And when sales at work came out, it just completely flooded everything that I was on. Like
Oh yeah.
everything was sales at work.
I think what was interesting to me about it is that we had like some friends who are not big anime fans,
Mhm.
but Cells at Work came out and they completely fell in love with like Cells at Work and I guess more or less anime as a whole.
True.
I
Yeah,
don't I'm not like I don't entirely know what their view is on like anime and stuff now, but Cells at Work is something they were super excited for and they kept us in the loop on this.
yeah.
So what's interesting to me is that we're getting Cells at Work season 2, which is the original.
Yeah.
And then we get Cells at Work Code Black, which is I don't know if that's the manga that's premiering, or I think the manga is already out, or
The Code Black manga was already up, but that is the anime
okay,
adaptation,
so
I
that's the
believe.
anime adaptation, which is going to be really interesting because it's looking at an unhealthy body.
Yeah, it's essentially a much more darker interpretation of Cells at Work. So for those of you that don't know, Cells at Work is an anime about these humanized cells that are effectively showing off. It effectively shows off all the functions of the body systems, like respiratory systems. Blood. The main characters are the red blood cells and the white blood cells.
Yeah.
And It's basically showing off all the functions, but in like a humanized way, where all the blood cells are, they look like humans,
Right, right.
and
And they're all essentially like, how do I put it? It's almost like a society that they put it as.
exactly, it's a world within the human body.
Like that's essentially what it is throughout the entire thing.
Absolutely. So I think it's really interesting to see what happens in season two. I don't read the manga for it, so it's gonna completely take me by surprise. But I do have a bit more of a general expectation because I have seen the trailer for Code Black, and it looks really interesting. But at the same time, you know how I deal with darker subject matter, so it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it is essentially biology the anime.
Oh, but essentially, yeah.
And I personally recommend people, even if they're not into anime, to give it a watch
hmm
because it's still a decent thing to know.
Yeah, I think Cells at Work is a very palatable anime to people who don't watch anime. For me personally.
Yeah. And I feel like that's just it just kind of attests to how good and how like popular it is, or how easy it is
Mhm.
picked up.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, yeah, no, just overall, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you don't need like any like working like that's one thing. Like you don't need to have like read the manga or anything like that to read it, to watch the anime, which I think is really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I mean, I watched it through, and it's on Netflix too, I believe.
Yeah, it's on
So
Netflix. That's the
it's
thing. Also,
it's very accessible. You don't have to go through this niche route to get to it.
absolutely. So I would say it's actually like I don't know about you, but I think it would actually be a pretty good gateway anime for some people.
Probably, maybe, because like it's definitely very exaggerated in how the body deals with things too.
Absolutely, the characters themselves are also like 99% of the time they're very goofy, very
Yeah,
outlandish,
yeah, it's
which
fun, and I enjoy the voice acting. Like music, I wasn't caring to as much, but everything else was pretty good.
yeah, the music itself wasn't that notable, but it was
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You got another thing you want to pick off the list here?
Absolutely. So one of the projects or like I guess like things I started, consuming was Rise of the Shield Hero in 2019. That to me was like one of the anime that like really pulled me back into anime actually,
Yeah,
uh, which is really funny because I had no working knowledge of this anime beforehand, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I watched the dub of that in 2019 and I absolutely fell in love with it. I'm really looking forward to that coming out this year. There's no official release date, but it was announced for this year, so I'm really looking forward to that.
I guess I'm curious about it, but the thing, okay, so here's the thing about me and the Shield Hero. I
Okay.
have not watched it, and it's not like it isn't good or anything. I
hmm
guess I burned myself out on isekais, the whole reborn in another world genre.
Yeah. hmm
I'm a little burned out on it because I'm a little burned out on it because I've just like I've had so many that I've read because I have the mistake of keep getting into super niche mangas that are under that genre. And it's all these different interpretations of what someone would do in a world like that. Some of
Yeah.
it's really cool, some of it's really boring, some of it's very just crazy and kind of fun. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
as I went through it, I was just like, I guess at the time I was just like, I don't feel interested in this character that
hmm
justifies me checking them out right now.
hmm
So that was kind of where I left off on it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that definitely helped me into getting invested into it is that like I definitely was not that invested into isekai anime.
Yeah.
Before I watched that, I it was really one of the first ones I watched. Then I watched Konosuba, and then really after that, those are really the only two I can think off the top of my head that were really just like isekai that I watched. So I think that definitely helped
I
me was that like
can't get
I
it. I've watched all of Konosuba and I watched the movie. I still don't like it. I went
well,
all the way through and I still don't like it. I think it's just the fact that I don't like Kazuma and Aqua
oh, fair enough. Yeah, yeah, those
that I
are
just cannot care. I
yeah,
do
and
not like it.
yeah. If you don't like Kazuma or Aqua, but if you especially don't like both, then you're really not gonna like the anime for
No,
that.
no. And I think to me it's just the fact that I don't care for Kazuma.
Yeah.
Like the fact of like, and I guess small spoilers, but it's been out like 3-4 years now. If you haven't seen it, that's kind of on you. I
Oh
can
yeah.
spoil this now. Um, the fact that like Kazuma, like the times he's died, I've just been more good.
No.
I don't care. That's the thing. Like, and I tried to give it a chance. At the beginning it was interesting because I was like, I get it. Okay, this is a satire on the genre.
Yeah.
But the more I kept watching it, it was like it tried to take its satire too seriously in my head.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that's where I was just more or less like, I don't. It's become what it swore to destroy, for lack of a better meme.
Yeah, I kind of yeah, I get you. Yeah, no. The
It-
Anakin of fucking
yeah, and I could not care for it. I never
Yeah,
liked Aqua to begin with.
I did not like Aqua either. I'm more partial to Kazuma because the whole point is that he's not a good person, right? He's not
No,
like
no,
really
and
like
that's the idea. That's the
like
idea. He's not a
like
hero.
he's more ambivalent in my opinion because like he's not like a shining beacon of justice, but he does care about the people in his party and stuff like that.
Right,
People.
right.
But overall, he's a he's kind of a shady guy. But I guess that kind of does play into the isekai, sort of like subverting expectations. I guess because like isekai is like, oh, I'm in a new world. I'm gonna like save the
Yeah,
whole world like that. They call me
yeah.
or whatever.
And it's like some of the stuff he's done, I get is like, again, it's supposed to be a satire, it's supposed to be funny,
Yeah.
but it also tries to give itself story elements and development,
Mm.
and that's the part where I think it failed for me on Kazuma.
Yeah, because it has to kind of fall back on itself in that regard because it's still a comedy at the end of the day,
Yeah,
which
and
I
it's
think
like
that's
he
like a
he
fatal
had
flaw.
he had very little development in my opinion.
Mhm.
He had such very little development, while essentially I would argue Darkness and Megumin had way more development as characters. Even if it is
I
a
agree.
satire and a joke, they were far more interesting characters to me than Cosma or Aqua ever were.
I kind of agree with Darkness, especially her whole angle of her being like the daughter of like a rich aristocrat was definitely really
Yeah.
interesting. Um, and then I haven't seen the latest movie for I haven't seen either of the movies actually for Konosuba, so I don't know what Megumin's whole thing is. I actually kind of forgot. I do know she came like from a village of like
Her
people
whole
that
thing
like
is her whole bit is that she comes from a line of like amazing mages and
yeah
spellcasters,
yeah, and
but
she only wants to use
she
explosion.
invested all of her magic into just literally one spell, which she can
Yeah,
only use once a day.
exactly.
And then after that, like there is nothing else supposedly notable for her.
Yeah, yeah. I'll
So
probably watch the videos at
it
some
is
point,
maybe the
but
strongest magic, I think is what they said, but it is virtually useless too.
yeah, yeah, no, because like she's only useful for essentially like one moment of a day,
Yeah.
which is yeah.
And
Oh
but
boy.
overall, like her as a character is very good.
Yeah, oh yeah, I like Megumi. She's yeah, she's very interesting.
Yeah. And but I think that's just how it is for me of like I if I can't get invested in the main character, then there's no point.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes
And this is
sense.
that I gave it its thorough chance. Like I gave it season 1 and 2.
Oh,
Because
I
I was
mean,
like, you know what? Okay, maybe season 1 he's not I didn't hate him in season 1. And I'm
mhm,
just like, okay, season 2 maybe he gets more development.
mm,
But by the end of it, I'm just like, I regret watching this.
mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, the favorite thing is like nobody can really call you on that because you watched the anime. It's not like someone can
Yeah.
say like, "Oh, you just didn't give like you did give it a chance," and you can
Yeah.
say like, "Oh yeah, I watched this and I didn't like it."
Yeah. And it's more of just also the fact of like there are bits and jokes that are really funny. I will give it that
Mhm.
credit. It just overall did not hold my attention.
100%. Yeah. I tried kind of a little bit on that. Like I tried watching the first episode of Overlord, but I don't know what it was about Overlord, but I just couldn't really get into it, to be honest.
So I have seen season 1 of Overlord. I have not seen the rest. I think it's just for me, it was too dark, and not that like, dark as in like, not as in like, like it's messed up in its own way, but not that it was too messed up for me. It was just more of like too dark in the fact of like this character literally wants to just be the worst, and I just don't want to care about this character.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what it was for me, more than anything.
Absolutely.
Music is great though. Freaking love the opening and all of the music that comes with it.
True. Yeah, no. Speaking of which, I need to. Yeah, no. Oh my gosh. You just reminded me. Like, I heard the Jujutsu Kaisen ending, and it slaps so hard. I need to watch that so like soon.
Gotcha. Well, back to video games real quick. There are just a quick thing that I want to get into because I'm very excited. We saw this announced this year at like the DC showcase, and that was the Gotham Knights video game that's coming out later this year.
Oh my! I actually don't have a lot of exposure to this. Can you explain a bit more about what Gotham Knights is?
So yeah. I don't remember if this takes place in the Arkham Knights universe and stuff like that. I don't remember. I don't think it does. But in this universe, essentially, Batman has disappeared. No one knows where Batman went. He's up and disappeared. So his four, I guess, inheritors, for lack of a better term, like his four sidekicks.
Okay.
Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, and Batgirl are all tasked with defending Gotham now. As Batman's gone. When the bat's away, all the villains come out to play.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So no one knows exactly where Batman is. They don't know what happened to him, but the entire game is focused around how these four now handle protecting the city. And the combat looks really good. It looks really well polished off, and then each character having their own abilities and styles, doing their own things.
Yeah.
And then, like, it was just something that it was really interesting overall of like how it was handled.
Yeah.
Or I guess how it's being handled, because it's like it's this world of without Batman, but what happens to everyone else who gets left behind.
Yeah.
So for me, that's really cool, and I'm very excited to see it.
This seems like a pretty unique spin on like what a Batman franchise game could do.
Yeah.
I personally am not that invested inside comic based media apart from the movies. But I could definitely see myself actually no, that's a lie. I played Spider-Man, so that's not necessarily true.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is, I feel like Spider-Man can be in its own thing, just a pop culture icon. Where it's like you can enjoy Spider-Man for being Spider-Man and not so much of the comic book Spider-Man.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, that kind of gets into like a different conversation about like when sort of product evolves past the medium that it's in. But that's a whole other conversation, to be honest.
That's a whole other episode we could do right there.
Yeah.
But my point is, it's like that was one of the games. That's one of the games I'm very excited to take a look at, and the fact that it's like it looks like it'll be a good single/co-op player game. Like you can play with up to 3 other friends.
Oh, nice.
I believe, if I remember correctly. So I'm very curious to see how that handles.
Absolutely. What systems is that releasing for?
It's going to be on everything except Switch, as per usual.
Oh man, yeah, no. Oh, poor Switch. It
doesn't have the processing power.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. But I mean, to be fair, the stuff it does have, you can't really complain about it.
Yeah. This is something I want to bring up, but we have a couple things. Let's just rapid fire through some of this stuff real quick.
Okay, sure.
So I'm looking at the list, and we also see that Far Cry 6 is on there. I know you're a huge Far Cry fan.
Oh yeah, I haven't played 5.
I still want to pick up some of the Far Cries, but I haven't been able to.
Yeah, I highly recommend 4 if you haven't played it yet.
I want to get 4. I want to try 5. 5 was the one that really interested me because you get to start with. You get to pick who you start with.
Yeah, I heard Five's premise is also very interesting. I think you're going after a cult in Five, which I think is really
Yeah,
interesting.
you're going after a cult, and there's also like a DLC that's like post-apocalyptic. So
Oh, true. Oh, that's right. That reminded me of Far Cry 3 also had like a DLC about like cyber it was like literally like a cyberpunk thing. Where it was
yeah.
like an 80s retro like thing where you like played
Oh yeah,
oh that was so
Far Cry New. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, that was so cool. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to Far Cry 6 as well.
Right. 6 looks like it'll be good. It looks like it's a. I mean, they just. I love that Far Cry just essentially takes place in different parts of the world, and it's a different story every time.
Absolutely. Far Cry 4, I think well I played it. It basically takes place in Nepal, basically, which I think is really
I think
interesting.
so. Yeah. Yeah. Then I see that we have Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which I know a lot of people were excited for.
Yeah, fortunately, that's only going to be on PS5, and I don't actively, like I said before, I'm not actively looking for a PS5. But when I do
Yeah.
get it, I will definitely be picking up Ratchet and Clank. Rift Apart.
Here's an anime that I actually didn't know about. That I haven't even heard of this one. Don't Toy with Me, Miss Nagatoro.
Miss Nagatoro, yeah, that's based off of a manga series I'm currently reading. It's basically about this senpai who gets bullied by his kohai, which if you don't know what kohai is, that's a like a younger classman. Um, And it's really interesting actually. It's pretty fun, it's pretty cute, and unlike some of the other romance manga I read, it actually has like pretty good like consistent like development. So I'm really looking
Hmm.
forward to that one. Yeah, it's actually
Gotcha.
pretty good. I'd recommend it. Yeah.
And then something you and I are both super excited for, the premiere of season 5 of My Hero Academia.
Oh boy, yeah. I cannot wait to see. I'm more interested in seeing how people will react to it, but
Oh
I'm
yeah.
definitely looking forward
Oh
to
yeah.
watching it as well. Yeah.
Depending on what season 5 is going to cover, I know
Hmm.
if people have not read the manga and are just watching the anime, they are not
Hmm.
ready for what's about to happen.
Oh no, 100%. They are not.
Okay, and then here's finally like the last topic I wanted to cover. So I just found out about this as we were like researching for this episode, researching, and as I say, as like we developed the list.
Yeah.
And it looks like Cyberpunk 2077 is getting a re-release.
Oh wow.
So to me, that's interesting, and I wanted your thoughts on that real quick.
Hmm.
Like we've
I mean,
seen that
that's
Cyberpunk 2077 bombed. It bombed
yeah.
hard. Everyone knows
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. So.
PS4, Sony removed it from all of its platforms. So that's PS4, PS5, and then I think Xbox also did the same.
Yeah, so
I
yeah,
want to say,
Microsoft also took off the Microsoft Store as well. Hmm.
yeah. So you can't buy it on Windows or anything. I think only Steam and Stadia currently have it now,
Yes, which
which
is
is
very interesting.
weird to say, in that those
Yeah,
two are together in something.
yeah. So I guess the first thing I want to say is like I've said this before, I never want a video game to flop. That's horrible. I feel bad
Right.
for the developers and publishers as well. Honestly, for everyone who worked in the game, I want games to be successful because video games are essentially one of, if not my favorite mediums. Um, with that being said, I really, really hope they get it right this time because if they don't, it's essentially dead in my opinion. I think if they don't do well on this re-release, I think Cyberpunk is just it's a goner in my opinion.
I think what they really needed to do, like what they honestly needed to do, was just not give it a release date anymore.
That's what I said as well. That's what I was talking about with our mutual friend Dan. Is that like I think they would have been better off just keeping it under wraps, and then when they were actually really finally done with everything that they wanted to do with it, then they could have said, "Oh yeah, here's when it's gonna release."
Right. And the thing for me is like I get it. I get it. Like you wanted to have it, you wanted to get it out there, because like they had said they were going to release it this year. Everyone was hyped for it. So you
Mhm.
wanted to get it out there for people to play. I get that. Totally makes sense. But I think by the time they did like their third delay, they should have just said, "Okay, look. We can get it out to you sometime next year. If we get it out to you right now, it will be a horrible mess. So you can either
Yeah,
let us fix this game and get it out to you, or you can take it as is." Instead of putting themselves in the situation where they felt like they had to put it out there, and then it was a completely horrible mess.
right.
So in my opinion, it's like, and you know, I don't know everything going on behind the scenes either. The money they put into it, everything behind all of that. They should have just said, "Hey, let's take the loss on this and push it to next year. Don't give them a release date. Don't give them anything. Just push it to next year."
100%. Yeah.
Because right now it is not on any console and it's messy, it's buggy, it's a pain. Put it out next year, let people buy it, because people would have still bought it anyway. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They would have bitched and moaned about the game getting delayed again, but they still would have bought it, and it would have been worth their money.
I agree, honestly. Like with delays, it actually does. I would say with delays, it kind of adds to the tension and the anticipation. But at the same time, if the product at least kind of matches anticipation, then it doesn't really matter how much people complain about it. In my
Right, and to me, it's like I've told you this before, and I believe I've said this on the podcast before. Or if I haven't said it on the podcast, I've said it on stream.
Yeah.
I would prefer a delay to a game any day over a patch, because that means I'm getting what I paid for, as well as I am essentially getting a good quality product out of this at the end of the day.
Oh no, essentially, yeah. I mean, when I buy the game, I want to buy the game as it was meant to be played. I don't want to pay for like a patch. Personally
Right.
for me, like yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from with that.
So for me, I'm just like, I don't need anything. I don't need you guys to like have this crunch. I don't need you guys to get it out by this specific date. If you tell me, hey, we'll get it out to you sometime next year, fine. I can play my backlog of games while I wait for this, and you get me a good quality product.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think that's really what CD Projekt Red just needed to do at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And again, I don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, but hopefully, when it re-releases, it's not a buggy garbage mess.
Absolutely, because like I said, like having a release all in of its own is already kind of bad. But again, I never want to see a game like flop intentionally. So I hope they do well.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens on it.
Absolutely. But I was kind of
Hopefully.
mentioning. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was kind of mentioning before. There's a couple of things that haven't been officially released, but they have been kind of hinted at. That I kind of like. There's one thing in specific that I definitely want, and I mentioned before that Atlas announced that with the 25th anniversary of Persona being released, they were going to be working on slash announce or even release some new projects. Or not even new projects, but like release some stuff. I would really, really love to see Persona 3 get the Persona 4 golden treatment. I would really love that.
I agree. I agree with you on that. Like Persona 3, to me, it essentially kicked off the more modern love for the series.
Absolutely, it kind of changed because like I have Persona 1 and 2 currently, and I seen gameplay of it as well. It like the jump from Persona 2 to 3, not I'm not saying better or worse, but like the jump in terms of like gameplay and the style and the way it looks, the presentation, it is so huge. And I think people should definitely experience Persona 3 just in that regard because like you said, it really kicks off Persona as we know it today.
Yeah. I would definitely say, Persona 3 is definitely what started, I would say, the modern era of Persona. And arguably SMT games, arguably, but that's not really for me to like put out there because I don't know SMT as well.
Don't tell that to the SMT fans. Don't tell that to the people who only play SMT because they will get the pitchforks against you. I can just tell you
that's
that.
a whole other thing that we don't need to go into. But I'd say there are so many people who have, I would say, slept on Persona 3.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think Persona 3 is kind of the black sheep of the the modern trio because it does have um aspects that are like missing from future games, but also like it has a much more moment, or more like the contrast between 3 and 4 is astonishing in terms of
Right,
the
and
tone. And the theme is like honestly like preposterous. But
mhm.
that's why I think people should experience it because it is in terms of the tone and the theme, it is so different. And I think everyone should experience it for
I think
you
that's
know
why for me, I think that's why for me also, in my opinion, like um I don't know if it's a good gateway anymore because we're already at this point. We're already like people really got in. They dove in at P5, but
hmm
it's like I hope it gets like the golden treatment, or I guess parallel the royal treatment,
mm.
because I guess that's kind of how they are. I don't know for sure, but
I would say golden just because like the re-release and the
right,
further.
right.
Yeah.
But point is like they get this expansion to it, or like new updated version. And
Yeah.
you could probably do that for Persona 3 and incorporate some of the new mechanics and styles from Persona 4 and 5.
Oh my if they remaster Persona 3 to look not exactly like Persona 5, but like the same engine and like some of the new mechanics, I to keep it PG, I would absolutely love it.
Right.
That would be incredible.
Right, but like, it makes sense they could do it.
Yeah.
They could legitimately do that because, we know people love both series, and to me, I have yet to play through Persona 5, and I'm going to eventually.
Mhm.
But once I do, I want to see if Persona 5 is truly better to me than Persona 4, or if
Mm.
I just really love Persona 4 more. And that's not to say that it's a bad game, but it's like I would love to see Persona 3 get an updated version so that way I can also give it a chance and experience it.
Yeah.
But I think what else I want to see this year is, and this is nothing about an announcement. I would love to see a remaster of Diamond and Pearl thrown onto the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, yeah, how can I forget about that? I would love to see okay, I know a lot of people talk about it as if though it's like a given, and I can see why,
Right, right.
they've remade, 1 Gen 1, 2, and 3, so it makes sense that people are like, "Oh, then that's how the
4 is
sword."
next, yeah. Well, they've technically remade Gen 1 twice now.
Oh, yeah, because of, Pokemon Let's Go kind of is
Yeah.
also like yeah, but Pokemon Diamond and Pearl on the Switch? Oh, baby. That would be incredible.
I see. It doesn't seem like too big of a stretch for them. It really
Yeah.
doesn't. And
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
like oh, no,
if
go
they
ahead.
literally copy pasted and just gave updated graphics, I don't think I would complain too much, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, so you'd be more for like okay, yeah, I can kinda see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like if they turned it into a 3D game, but essentially kept more or less the same, minus the garbage story,
Mm,
then I'd be okay with that.
yeah. I think I have
Obviously not all of it's going to be a one-to-one same, like Oraz was not the same, Soul Silver and Heart Gold was not the same. I don't know
mhm.
about Fire Red and Leaf Green because unfortunately did not play both originals.
I did not play that either. Yeah.
So, for me it's just like I'd love to see it get that treatment.
Mhm.
Um
Absolutely. It's
yeah,
funny to me that, like it's funny to me, like, one of the things I want the most, like, both of us, is, like, re-releases of games that we've already played, which I think is really funny.
right, and that's something to be said about nostalgia and like older gens. I don't see us getting a new Pokemon game. What I see us getting is maybe more Pokemon DLC until
Oh,
they
yeah, I can
release all of the Pokemon again.
mhm. Oh, that's right, yeah. Yeah.
But we'll just have to wait and see for that.
Yeah.
I think what else I would probably want to see, maybe I think I would just want to see like a new Nintendo IP.
Interesting, yeah, that's true. What do you kinda have in mind? Like, do you have a specific, like, game
I
style
see.
or, like
I don't know. I don't know
mm,
because it's like I know Nintendo supposedly has a lot on the back burner.
mhm,
Um, but I think I just want to see a new Nintendo IP, just in general, of like
right.
trying a new game. It could be anything they want, but so long as it's new and directly by Nintendo,
Right, yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah.
is what I would like to see.
Yeah, I think I can see it. Like, what, like, do you know, like, what was the last like new Nintendo IP that you can think of? I can't really think of one.
I want to say it was Splatoon, but I could definitely be wrong and talking
Oh,
out of my
okay, yeah,
ass.
that definitely makes that to me is like, for at least for what I can think of right now, that definitely seems like the newest one to me personally.
Like their original IP, their latest Nintendo original IP. Um, because I know, like, I remember when Splatoon came out, they said that like that had been a new IP since that had been like the first new IP since Pikmin back in 2001.
Jesus Christ! Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Which says a lot about like the support they give to IPs that currently exist.
Right, right, and and like, and I'm talking about new original IP, not
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
like
Not like a new Mario or something like that.
right, exactly. Like, and that was Splatoon. It was a new original IP. It wasn't a spin-off. And I don't know about the Xeno series. Like that might be the only other one I'm not entirely sure about.
Yeah. I don't know when Xenoblade came out originally.
Yeah. I don't know like when that counts or when that came out, but that was at least what I remember last checking in. But that's my
Hmm.
point. It's like I would love them to just bring out a new IP for us to check out, like this new game altogether.
Absolutely, 100%. Um, Personally for me, if you don't mind, I would definitely say Grand Blue Season 2. That's a manga
Oh
I've been
yes, yes. I thought that was actually announced.
no, Grand Blue Dreaming, like the Diving Club anime I was talking about before.
Oh, okay, no, never mind. I'm thinking of Grand Blue, the one that's
Fantasy?
based off of the one that's based off of the JMMO RPG.
No, 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 no. I was thinking that's what you're probably talking about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
season 2 of Grand Blue Dreaming, which is this anime about like college students that like you know it's actually okay. This is gonna this is not gonna sound like the best sales pitch, but it covers a lot. But what it does cover is really good and very funny. So essentially the main premise of it is that like it's the main character is this college student that's living at a diving shop, and he gets introduced to diving in that way and he starts to fall in love with it, but it's also about him and his struggles with getting adjusted to college because of like all of the unfortunate circumstances surrounding him. um so honestly, it's really funny, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if they announce another season because I think the success of the manga and then the anime was pretty well received as well. So I'd imagine, I know this isn't always true because we've seen it before, but I would hope that would warrant a season two for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see because it's COVID. It throws a lot up in the air.
Yeah.
It really does throw a lot up in the air. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully there is a lot that's still to happen this year.
It's the very beginning of the year.
So we'll see what's gonna happen. We're gonna see what's gonna go on. So
I hope
Yeah.
things don't become too much of an issue.
hmm
But who knows? So we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to wrap up for today.
Absolutely. Yeah. We covered a lot in this episode, to be
Oh yeah,
honest.
yeah. This probably won't be the last time we'll touch upon some of these subjects.
Yeah, honestly, I could see us probably maybe doing like a mid-year review, maybe of like seeing
We
what
could,
has been and what
yeah, we could
has
probably
been.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
All right. Well, I think with that being said, we've covered a lot of ground in this episode. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. I know Zach and I were really looking forward to doing this episode, and we hope that kind of came showing through in this episode. Let us know what you guys are looking forward to this year, whether it be entertainment, maybe some personal things, maybe in your life that you're looking forward to. And yeah, with that being said, guys, we hope you enjoyed. And as always, look forward to the next episode Unscheduled, which we don't know what will be because this is unscheduled. And with that being said, we'll see you guys later.
bye.
Bye.